And I want to go straight, therefore, to Dr. Anupam Sibal, the Group Medical Director at Apollo Hospitals, for his reactions to what we've seen. Dr. Sibal, shameful scenes that we've seen, hospital staff being targeted. I know these are trying times for all of you, but for you also, this must have come as a rude shock after all these years in the medical profession to see doctors and staff being assaulted in this manner.
Thank you, Rajdeep, for this invitation. I want to start off by expressing heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family. For us as doctors, for us as healthcare professionals, be it nurses, paramedics, or anyone who's in hospital, to lose a patient is something that we do whatever we can to avoid. But listen, it's not really in our power, because if it was, then 724 doctors would not have died because of COVID. What I want to place on record here, Rajdeep, is that it is day 462 of the pandemic in India. And the healthcare professionals have fought, and they have fought hard. And that is why you saw in the first wave how well we did. And we are doing our very best in the second wave to save as many lives as we can, to help as many people as we can. We're all working 14, 16, 18 hours a day. There is no Sunday for us. We don't know what a break is. Our phone rings constantly, and constantly we are under the stress of trying to do our best under the pressure, under the stress that we live in. And Rajdeep, you will understand this, because your son's a medical student and he'll be a doctor soon. What does it take to become a doctor? 5.5 hours of grueling 12 to 14 hours?
No, he's already a doctor.
Okay, well then you will know even better, Rajdeep. And then 5.5 years of that, junior residency, 3 years of postgrad, 3 years of super specialty. That is the kind of effort we put in. And we don't expect a thank you, because we chose this life. At the age of 23, we took an oath, a pledge that we will put the interests of our patients above us. We don't expect gratitude, but at least be civil. We do not expect the kind of behavior we saw here.
But Dr. Sibal, what will you... No, I take your point, but what... No, I take your point, but Dr. Sibal, what will you tell a family who comes to a hospital and then is turned away? You know, many families are ringing in saying they're going to government hospitals, they're going to private hospitals, no beds available, and then they are turned away. In this instance, emergency care was given, but there was no bed, they are turned away. Now, when people are getting desperate, and the capital, there's no coordination, it appears at the moment, or very little coordination between the various authorities. So people don't know where to go. They're struggling for oxygen supply, for remdesivir and other medication, or indeed for an ICU bed. An ICU bed today is like gold. So what do you tell those families who are desperate and then turned away?
Absolutely, Rajdeep, I agree with you that the system is under pressure. But we saw this. We saw this in Madrid. We saw this in London. We saw this in Paris. We saw this in New York. We saw this in the most developed countries in the world that have better infrastructure than India has. And we saw the scenes, if you remember, April last year, and you saw the scenes from Britain in December. So the question is that we have suddenly got a very large number of people falling ill, critically ill. The hospital system is stretched. So we do whatever we can to the best of our ability within the constraints of being able to provide the best care. Emergency care is provided, but if someone needs a ventilator and there isn't a ventilator, Rajdeep, how do we create a ventilator? We can do what we can to stabilize the patient, but if someone needs a ventilator and is crashing, then that patient needs a ventilator. And that is something which is sad. It is something that pains every doctor. It pains each one of us who cares for patients. But these are circumstances beyond our control when we do not have what we need at that point in time. Each one of us is working towards increasing infrastructure. The government has enhanced capacity. You know of the challenges that we've had over the last few weeks, and efforts have been made to overcome those challenges. The private sector has enhanced capacity. Training has been enhanced in terms of getting the upskilling that is needed. But then there is just a huge gap that has emerged.
Can I though ask you this? Today the Delhi High Court has come out very strongly against the Delhi government, against the authorities in Delhi for what they see as the collapse of the system. Now, we wanted an Aam Aadmi Party representative, but no one has come on the show, unfortunately. The health minister also chose not to come, so maybe you're the wrong person to ask this, but as someone who's been a medical professional for years, why is the national capital in particular so badly affected? I mean, it's much easier to get a bed in many other parts of the country compared to the national capital. If the capital's infrastructure collapses, what's the message that goes out to the world at large?
So Rajdeep, the first thing I would say is I don't think we should use the word collapse. I think there is still some remarkable care that is being delivered. What we are seeing is a system under tremendous amount of stress. But it hasn't collapsed, because if it had collapsed, we won't be saving the number of lives we are saving each day. Now, the pressure in Delhi is intense for the simple reason that Delhi sees a lot of patients from outside Delhi. You don't see that in many other states. So what we see is patients from Uttar Pradesh, we see patients from Haryana, we see patients from Uttarakhand, from Punjab, from Jammu and Kashmir, from Madhya Pradesh, from Rajasthan coming in for tertiary care, for the kind of care that is available only in a handful of hospitals, whether it's advanced ventilation, whether it's ECMO. And that is why the pressure is more than you will see in other metros. And it's a reality, and it's been the case for years, for decades. Delhi is the healthcare capital, for want of a better word, in terms of tertiary quaternary care. So there is a lot of pressure, and we are seeing that now.
One final question though. We knew, as you say, that this pressure has existed for years. Should COVID 1.0 not have been a wake-up call for us to enhance that infrastructure? Why is it that we are scrambling around at the moment? Is it just the sheer weight of numbers this time? Or is there something fundamentally wrong with the health infrastructure as has been created at the moment, and it's just not expanded fast enough? I mean, who is going to be held accountable? As we said, violence unacceptable. But when patients are being turned away from hospital after hospital, who will be held accountable when there isn't enough oxygen supply?
So Rajdeep, 2 points. I think what we are seeing is the weight of the number of patients is really what is putting the pressure that we are seeing. It just happened very quickly. Now, if this was spread over 4 or 6 weeks, we wouldn't have seen the kind of scenes that we are seeing here. We all acknowledge the National Health Policy talks about increasing healthcare spend to 2.5% of the GDP from the government. We have to invest more in health, and I think this goes back to maybe 7 decades. And I think we should have spent more. Well, the good thing is that at least there's the recognition now, and the National Health Policy has actually given a figure of 2.5% of the government spend on the GDP on healthcare, and we hope that money will help a better infrastructure, and I hope that we would have learned in terms of better surveillance, better public health, better monitoring, better diagnostics, so that, God forbid, another wave of whether it's COVID or whether it's another virus or any other such medical or health calamity, we are able to brace ourselves and face it better.
I just have 30 seconds with you, Anupam. The charge, Dr. Sibal, against private hospitals in particular is that you're profiteering, that you don't really care about the Aam Aadmi. What will you tell them? That in Delhi, everyone is a Khas Aadmi. Only VVIPs get admission into private hospitals. The Aam Aadmi loses out. What will you say very quickly?
Well, I think the narrative really has to look at the ground realities. 70% of healthcare in this country is provided by private hospitals, nursing homes, doctors, and the reliance in terms of high-end quality care has been historically with the private sector. When the term of profiteering is used, perhaps we need to look at health economics, and we really need to look at what does it cost to actually do a bypass surgery, what is the comparative cost anywhere else, what is the comparative cost in the government sector and the private sector, and to the best of my knowledge, that data has never really been analyzed. So when we don't have that, to use the term profiteering, I think is very unfair. We have to look at what the quality of care that is provided is. Is it comparable to the best in the West? And is it not at 1/5 or 1/10 of what is it in the best centers in the US or in Europe? So I think we have to look at the larger picture, and only then can we actually decide on what is the true value of the care that is delivered.
Okay. But you're giving me an assurance that if you have a bed and then someone comes desperately looking for one, you will not turn them away, whether that is a Khas Aadmi or an Aam Aadmi, right?
Absolutely, Rajdeep. We will do whatever we can with whatever equipment that we have at that point in time to stabilize the patient, make the patient better. That is a promise that each one of us in the medical community has always lived up to, and we will live up to. And let me again end with this, that please do not forget that everyone who became a doctor took a pledge, and we live by that oath, and we live by that oath every single day.
Dr. Sibal, I appreciate your joining us on a day which is a sad day in many ways, that we've had to see this kind of violence at the Apollo Hospital. Thank you very much, though, for joining me.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.